Hi everyone, this is Adrian.
And I'm Carrie.
And for this episode, we are going to talk about bottles of fragrances we want to have duplicates of and why. You know, there are instances that your favorite fragrance gets discontinued and you are left there crying.
Yeah.
Well, because it's once you fall in love with a fragrance, it's hard to let go, and and find something new. And um, one good thing to know is that if you do have an extra bottle of something that you know might get discontinued, then you might be okay. You might be okay.
So there's several reasons why a fragrance might get discontinued and other reasons why you might want to have backup bottles of it. As your journey through fragrance continues, you'll find that you start to center in on certain notes that you really like. And every once in a while, you hit on a fragrance that really accentuates some of those notes that you like in ways that you just really enjoy wearing, that you enjoy smelling, that becomes sort of your signature scent. And sadly, some of these fragrances, because they're a little less than the common, they're not quite as mass appealing, they're more special appealing. They don't sell quite as well, and so eventually the manufacturers will decide it's not selling well enough and they're going to discontinue the line because it doesn't pay to make the batches in the size they need to then have them sit and take too long to sell. Other things, ingredients become hard to find and really expensive, and then they can't really sell them for enough to make a profit off of it. So there's a number of reasons why they change. And another sad thing can be you find something that you really like and you buy a bottle of it and you use it for a year or two and you go buy a new bottle and find out it's been reformulated and doesn't really smell the way that you were used to it. So in many of these cases, when I find something that I really like and I have a feeling that it's either a little on the niche side or the specialized side, or some of the ingredients might change later, I'll buy backup bottles of it. And so they're not always real expensive fragrances. Sometimes they're pretty mainstream, affordable, sometimes cheap even. Sometimes they are really high end and stuff, and it's things that will only be made in a few batches and then they're gone. So you better buy it while it lasts, even if it breaks the bank a little bit. So one of the first ones I want to talk about is a Tom Ford favorite of mine, Ebene Fume.
Yes.
This one is a rather new release. I think it came out just in 2021. And it is a kind of an amber, woody, spicy fragrance. It's fairly simple notes. It's mostly woody. It has Palo Santo, black pepper, violet leaf, leather, labdanum, papyrus rose, resins, ebony tree, and gaiac wood. It's from a small grouping in the private blend called Exotic Woods. There's 3 of them. This is the newest of them. And it's just an amazing, deep, rich, woody, spicy sort of a smell. Now, often in the Tom Fords, they come out in the 50 ml bottles like this, and they're pretty pricey. So they'll start out there and see how it goes. And then if they introduce it in some of the larger sizes, that's a good sign it might stay around for a while. This one looks like it might end up being discontinued. And I love it so much, I've already started buying some backup bottles of it because I don't think anything like this will come out again in quite a while. You've tried this one, haven't you?
Yes, a couple times, and I love it. And you brought it up before. Mindfulness meets opulence, and
yes,
it's definitely opulent to me. And
it is.
I love this fragrance.
I feel like I'm in luxury when I'm wearing this. It feels rich, like you're somebody really special when you're wearing this. And it does really smell great. It is on the strong side, so be careful where you're wearing it, like in confined spaces, like getting on an airplane, or you're going to be in a car with several other people for a few hours. Make sure you put it on and give it some time to tone down, but this one stays strong for several hours. But this one's on the expensive side, and so it does hurt to buy some backup bottles when you think, oh, I'll just wait until I run out. But I honestly think this one is one. If you like it, you probably better at least buy one backup bottle of it, because Tom Ford is known for suddenly discontinuing things without notifying the public, and then just suddenly you can't get it anymore. And then you try to get it on eBay or something, and it's just crazy expensive.
Okay.
All right, so on to the next one. This is another favorite of mine.
I want to try it.
Yeah, go ahead and spray it. This one's nice. This one is by Yves Saint Laurent. It's a limited edition one from the Vestiaires des Parfums, the Couture edition. This one, you can read about it online. There's kind of an interesting long story about it, but it's a fairly limited edition. They don't advertise it a whole lot. I kind of found out about it because I was trying to find other things that smelled like Ebene Fume, and somebody mentioned this.
It does.
It has a similar sort of a feel to it, but it's definitely a little bit less like spicy, I would say. It's a little bit more like on a woody sort of a level. This one came out in 2017 along with two others in this line.
How do you pronounce it? This perfume?
This one, the name of it is, it actually goes along with one of the buildings that Yves Saint Laurent does some of its designing in. And it's the street address, 24 Rue de la Université. So basically 24 Street, or 24 University Street in English is what it would translate to. And it's from the Vestiaires des Parfums Couture edition, or fashion edition. And this is definitely a niche level designer scent, and they price it that way too. It's really on the high end pricing wise, and I really had to work hard to find a bottle of this. I ended up calling all over the place to different YSLs and emailing and stuff, and I finally found a person that said that they had two sitting on a back shelf that they just kind of almost forgotten about, and I was able to order those two and have them sent to me. So I have a backup bottle of this. Most recently, I was looking online, and I saw, when I was looking for something else, I actually saw that a bottle of this was available. And so I bought that one too, because even though it's a good sized bottle, I'm pretty sure that they have already discontinued this one, or they're going to. So if you ever get a chance to smell this one and you like it, or if you find a bottle of it, I would say buy it, because even if you don't like it, you can sell it for a lot, because it goes for a lot on eBay. But it was interesting because I was trying to find this one because it was mentioned by other people as reminding them of Ebene Fume.
It kind of does.
Yeah.
It really kind of does.
Yeah. So this is another one of those that, because it's probably going to be discontinued, and even if it isn't, it's very hard to find. If you like it, you buy a backup bottle, because it probably isn't going to be something you'll find again. Okay, on to the next one. And sorry about the tiny bottle, but when I bought this one, it is Raw Cherry by Aaron Terence Hughes. He is a British perfumer who has just recently come out, well, when I say recently, the last few years or so, has started marketing strongly lines of his own original perfumes. And he's a pretty amazing perfumer.
Yeah.
I love cherry fragrances, and it's hard to find a cherry fragrance that is really cherry, not something that's like syrupy and medicine-y smelling, or that really basically just smells like almonds.
It's kind of a little on the lipsticky side.
Maybe, yeah. It has some powderiness to it after it dries down, but the thing I love about it is it's a tart cherry.
Oh.
And it does come in bottles that look like this. This is another perfume of his. All of his bottles are kind of black and austere. I think they're actually changing some of their bottles pretty much as we speak. They're doing a changeover in their lines. But at the time that this one came out many months ago, maybe within the last year, it was almost impossible to get here in the United States. Only Max Aroma was a distributor of it here in the US, and the only bottle that I could get was this kind of, I think it's a 10 ml travel size. And they're fairly pricey, but if you like this one, you can now get it through Max Aroma in this size. It's hard to get samples of Aaron Terrence Hughes fragrances, but if you really like cherry, I think you will like this one, and you could make the investment at least in a small bottle of it. And then if you like that, go ahead and get bigger bottles, because he is a niche perfumer. All of his ingredients are really high end, and often, the sourcing on them may be, it may vary from year to year. And sometimes things that I've already liked, he's already discontinued them or changed the formulas on them. So if you like it, get it now while it lasts. Let's go on to another one here. Okay. Now moving on to one, this one is a backup bottle, or one you want a backup bottle of for a different reason. This one is a limited edition. CK1 comes out with summer editions. They have since about 2010.
Yes.
And because they're a summer edition, they only come out for 1 year, so get them while they last. Often there'll be enough that you can buy them for pretty much the whole year and into the next year. So I got a backup bottle of it. I wanted you to get to see what the box looks like too. This one is called CK1 Summer Daze 2022. It's an eau de toilette, limited edition. It has a nice fruity smell. It doesn't last a long time, but it's a fun fragrance. You've tried this one, haven't you?
Yes.
What's your thoughts on this?
It kind of lasts. Not, with all the other summer fragrances, this one tends to last a little longer than the other summer fragrances. But this smells really good. It's like all the summer fragrances that we've tried, this one is a favorite.
Yeah. And this one, because it's one of the more recent ones, you can get it still on some discounters and find it in various places for often fairly good prices.
It's still 2022.
Yeah. So, but I mean, they come out for the summer. So it's usually they come out in maybe April or May.
Oh,
and they make one batch of it, and that's it.
That's it.
And then you just find it where you find it. Sometimes you can find it at places like Ross or TJ Maxx or something like that for $30. Sometimes you find it online for anywhere from around $30 to $50. If you go to a department store, it's going to run around $80 or something like that. So if you can find it here and there, for good prices, grab a couple of them, because you won't find it again after about 6 more months. They'll be all gone, except if you buy it on eBay, and then you're going to really pay for it. So this one, because it's a limited edition, that's why I would buy backups of it.
Okay.
All right. Now moving on to Dior. Now, Sauvage catches a lot of flack because it's so overworn. Like, everybody, that starts to get into fragrance and stuff, young people and stuff, they want Sauvage because it's a fashion name and stuff. It's a great fragrance. And there are several different Sauvages, from the original eau de toilette to the EDP to a parfum. And this one is the parfum extract or elixir. This one's quite different from the other Sauvages. It's not the big ambroxan bomb that you would expect from the others. It's a much more sophisticated, rich smelling type of a scent. Some of the notes that I really like in it, it has a licorice sort of a note and sandalwood that really come through nicely. Top notes, cinnamon, nutmeg, cardamom, and grapefruit. So it has a kind of a nice fruity opening. Middle has just lavender, and then the base, licorice, sandalwood, amber, patchouli, and vetiver. And let me tell you, this one comes across strong. You can, even Curly, she says that 5 sprays of this and you're ready to go for all day. And that's the girl who usually says 16 to 30 sprays of of the fragrances. So this one, the reason why I say that I would get backup bottles of this one is it's so good, you might as well. And right now, the original formulation, it's only been out for about a year or so. and the formulation is really good. Sometimes with these, they reevaluate the ingredients they're putting in it, and they either tone it down or water it down a little bit. And then, it's maybe not quite as pleasing. So if you sample this one and you like it, this one is a 60 ml bottle, and that's all it came out in the first year, but they've just recently introduced a 100 ml bottle, and I would at least buy the 100 ml bottle, but if all you can find is the 60, get that, but think about getting a backup, because formulation may change, and even if it doesn't, these don't usually get discounted, so the price you pay is the price you pay. You might as well get it before they discontinue it, and the prices will only go up.
Okay.
All right. So now is a kind of an oddball fragrance. This one is a celebrity fragrance, Elizabeth and James. And this one came out back in 2013, and it has a pretty unique scent profile. I haven't found other things that really smell like this. It's a linear fragrance that's built around violet, sandalwood, and vanilla. Mm-hmm. So it has this one feels a lot kind of like how the YSL 24 smells. It stays the same through when you wear it. It has a sort of a woody, spicy smell to it, and it projects pretty well and leaves a nice scent trail. What do you think of it?
Not too strong.
Really? Maybe. I don't know. I guess when it's on skin, the warmth or something makes it project a lot more. When I bought this one, just kind of based on the scent profile, and it's fairly well discounted now. You can get it for what I feel is a pretty reasonable price. It comes in a 30 ml and a 50 ml bottle. This is the 50 ml. And it's been out for now about 10 years, and it's one of those, as celebrity fragrances usually don't stay around for all that long. Mm-hmm. And so this is one of those, if you like the scent profile, it's a pretty inexpensive one to get right now if you find it. And you probably should just go ahead and get a couple bottles of it, because if it turns out that you don't love it, you can probably sell it to somebody else and get your money back from it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it's a pretty nice one, and it's a little on the kind of the spicy exotic side. Mm-hmm. But I really think that because it's a celebrity fragrance, because
who is she?
What is it? The two twins that. What are the Disney twins? I can't remember. I can't remember their names, but they named it after their brother and sister who are not famous.
No wonder I haven't heard of this before.
Yeah,
Elizabeth and James.
Yeah, and that's their brother and sister that are not celebrities and don't have money. So I don't know what that's all about, and I don't really like any of their films and stuff, so I don't remember their names. But I do like this fragrance.
Okay.
Okay, now one that is just an amazing, amazing fragrance. This is Khamrah by Lattafa. It's a Middle Eastern brand, and yeah, definitely this one, if you know some high-end fragrances, you'll recognize this cut crystal looking bottle. This one is square instead of round.
Hard to hold.
But yeah, it's a little hard to hold, but hey, it's worth it when you smell it. Mm-hmm. There's a really expensive fragrance by Kilian called Angel Share, and this one is a dead ringer for it. And it smells so good. It's so spicy and rich and luxurious and gourmand smelling. That's just amazing. This one is not expensive, but it has really quality ingredients. The House of Lattafa makes some excellent, excellent fragrances using great exotic ingredients, and they come right now at some pretty good prices. When you can find this one, it's pretty affordable, and it's one that I think is probably worth just grabbing too if you can find it somewhere and stuff. Don't worry about, if you're gonna like it, you'll love it. The notes in this are top notes of cinnamon, nutmeg, and bergamot, middle dates, pralines, tuberose, and something I don't know what it is, mahonial. Then base of vanilla, tonka bean, myrrh, benzoin, and a Kegelwood.
Oh.
Have you smelled this one?
Yeah, we've smelled this before when we talked about bottles because it looks really presentable. The bottle is pretty.
Yeah, it's a little hard to hold because it's big and it's square, but you know, a lot of fragrance, the bottles are kind of built to be pretty, not functional.
So this one would be a cooler weather, like gourmand fragrance.
Yeah, this is definitely a kind of a cooler weather, sweater weather type of a fragrance. It's really great. When you put this one on, you just feel like you're in the lap of luxury.
Yes.
And the thing about this one is it's so good, and you know, it only comes out in fairly small batches because when it appears on like websites and stuff like that, it's usually gone within a day or two. So if you see this one, the price is usually good enough. You could just go ahead and buy 2 of them and have plenty for a long time, because I guarantee you, you'll love it, or somebody you know will love it if it's a little too rich for you. But you would have no trouble selling it on eBay, because on eBay they go for a lot more than what they usually go for on the discounters.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
All right.
Now, this next one is
a
Ralph Lauren, one of your favorites.
Yes.
Okay. And this one is a sort of an aquatic, fruity scent. I would almost call it a blue scent, but it really has a lot more in the the fruity aquatic range and stuff. It's long lasting. It has some interesting notes in it, which we'll talk about here in a second. It was launched in 2020, and this one is by a fairly prominent Ralph Lauren designer. He's done several of their fragrances, Carlos Benaim.
Yes.
And one of the big notes in this one is green mango.
Yes, I know. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
My favorite.
Yeah, so it opens with green mango, grapefruit, bergamot, and then has middle notes of cypress, clary sage, geranium, and then it has base notes. And that's what's neat, is that this one lasts for a long time. It doesn't just go away in the first 30 minutes like a lot of other aquatic ones. It has sea notes, ambroxan, fir, musk, and patchouli. But the sea notes, the sort of aquatic sense of this, lasts for a long time.
Yes.
This is a parfum strength, so it doesn't project a whole lot, but it lasts a long time and it leaves a nice scent trail.
Yes.
So
I heard, that this is hard to find.
it is. It seems like this one may be discontinued because it becomes very difficult to find, and then every once in a while, like an online place or discounters will have some, and then it sells out within just days. So if you are interested in this one, it's worth getting a couple of them, because I'm afraid it probably is going offline here.
Oh, and, you don't find many fragrances that has green mango in it.
Yeah, or that has the sort of the sea, the aquatic notes that last very long.
Very long.
Yeah, so this is kind of a unique fragrance, and I'm hoping that it's maybe just a supply chain issue and that they'll keep this one around for a while. It seems like it has been successful, but it may be a little bit more niche than than mainstream, and Polo kind of shoots for mainstream.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next is a niche fragrance. As I've mentioned before, I love cherry fragrances. This one is a very different cherry than the raw cherry. This one is a kind of a rich pipe tobacco type of a cherry. Ooh. With leather accents. This is by a designer or a house called Room 1015.
Oh.
And it's called Cherry Punk. It's an eau de parfum strength. Nice. Yeah. And it has these really rich tobacco-y sorts of cherry notes to it. The top notes are cherry, saffron, Sichuan pepper. Middle is mimosa, violet, and jasmine.
Mimosa.
Mm-hmm. And the base is leather, tonka, and patchouli. Now, it doesn't list tobacco, but to me, while I don't actually necessarily think this smells like tobacco, it smells like cherry pipe tobacco. Mm. So it's kind of a rich cherry without being sweet, like a syrupy sort of a sweet. It has a sort of a richness to it that a lot of cherry fragrances don't have. Most tend on the sweet or the almondy side, and those are not as pleasing to me. This one is an absolute gold mine for people, for guys that like cherry. This one is a perfect guy cherry fragrance. And because this is a niche fragrance, this is one that could just go away at any time, because they make a few batches of it, and depending on how it sells, they may make some others, and the batches will vary. But if you like this one, look online for Room 1015. They have several fragrances. They're all niche inspired, and it's reasonable for a niche fragrance. So it's one that's worth trying. If you're a guy and you like cherry, or you're a girl and you'd like your guy to smell kind of like a rich, dark cherry type of a smell,
yes,
get this one. This one's amazing. But I'm definitely buying a backup of this one because I like it so much I want to wear it more, but I'm afraid to go through my bottle.
Okay.
And now that it's cold weather, I probably will be using it a little bit more. Okay, now here's one that's near and dear to my heart, and sadly, this one is discontinued.
Oh.
It's by Yves Saint Laurent. I was trying to stay away from doing lots by the same person, but I couldn't help putting these two Yves Saint Laurents in here. This one is amazing. The Opium line started back, I want to say, in the late 70s for women. And finally, this one in, I think, 1995 came out for men. And I always wondered why they didn't, make an Opium for men. But back in the 90s, they started doing some of these spicy oriental fragrances for men, and that became more of a thing. Before that, maybe it would have smelled too much like not a man's fragrance or something. But when this one came out, it was fairly popular for a while. And like a lot of other YSL things, for some unexplainable reason, even though there's a lot of people that love it, it just goes away. There was a parfum edition of this. The notes were a little different, but the eau de toilette stayed around for a little bit longer, and you can still occasionally catch it on some websites and stuff. You just have to be vigilant about it and look for it. It's available on eBay once in a while, and they're usually legit when you buy it if it's somewhere around $100 or something. But this is a great man's fragrance. It's so classy, so rich. The notes are just really luxurious. It has black currant and star anise, which is a kind of a fancy way of saying licorice, black licorice smell.
You just like licorice.
I do when it's done correctly, and I love black currant. Middle notes, pepper and galanga. Base notes of bourbon, vanilla, tolu balsam, and cedar. So this one is really beautiful. It's an eau de toilette, but it really projects and it lasts a pretty long time. I would say a good 6 or so hours with a moderate spraying. And it's just amazing. And if you get one of these, you're going to want to get a backup of it, because you'll want to be able to have this one for a long time. They may reintroduce it at some time, but it's discontinued at this point. So if you can find it, grab you one.
All right.
Okay, and then I decided to add this one in at the last because it is an exact duplicate of a really beloved Gucci fragrance that so many people loved, and it went off the market. It was Gucci Pour Homme 2 that came out back in, I believe it was the early 2000s. There was a Gucci Pour Homme and then Gucci Pour Homme 2, which came in a square, kind of light blue bottle with a wood or kind of goldish cap. And what everybody loved about it is it has like black tea notes to it. And it was out for a few years and then just disappeared. And
yeah, it's nice tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one is literally a 1-to-1 reproduction of this. It's made by Parfums Vintage, which they're known for making fragrances that are sort of replica type fragrances. They do a lot of ones that have been discontinued that people love. As with other things, they do them for a while and then they sort of disappear. This one is called Imbue, I-M-B-U-E. It's an eau de parfum strength, and it came out, I think, in 2019, and it's already starting to look like this one is discontinued. You can still buy it on the Parfums Vintage website. Don't buy it on eBay because it'll be more expensive, and you can actually still get it on the Parfums Vintage website for a reasonable price. It is not cheap. It's probably half of what you would pay for the Gucci Pour Homme vintage fragrances on eBay. But if you have heard of the Gucci Pour Homme 2 or you've worn it and loved it, this one is an exact one-to-one duplicate of it. I had a small bottle of it because I found out about it late, but I bought a little bottle of it, a 5 ml bottle, and loved it. But 5 mls goes pretty quickly, even if you're being sparing with it. And I just couldn't bring myself to pay eBay prices for it, but I heard about this one and I got it, and it's just amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. So this one has notes of violet leaf and bergamot, black tea, cinnamon, pimiento, then tobacco leaf, myrrh, musk, and olive tree. One-to-one reproduction of Gucci Pour Homme 2. So this one is worth getting a couple bottles of because even what it's a reproduction of is no longer available, and sadly this one appears to be becoming also not available.
Aww.
Well, that's all we've got for today. If you liked what we've done here, leave a like and leave some comments if there's things that you have that are favorites that you buy backups of. And if there's things that you'd like to see us do a topic video on, leave something in the comments for us.
Yes, we'd be happy to do it. Okay, till next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.